A mysterious night inside a grand hotel. It is the kind of night where every shadow seems deeper than usual, where the gentle hum of voices and footsteps in the lobby carry an edge of secrecy. The chandeliers above cast a golden glow across the polished floor, but instead of warmth, that light only makes the corners of the room feel darker, as though the building itself is holding on to secrets. Guests move quietly through the entrance, some in evening dress, some already weary from the day, but each one carrying their own private story. It is a place that has seen countless arrivals and departures, yet tonight feels different. Tonight the hotel is alive, as though it is watching, listening, and waiting for something to happen. Every detail catches the eye. The heavy curtains at the windows sway ever so slightly, as if stirred by more than a breeze. The marble counter at the reception desk gleams under the lights, the clerks working with polite smiles that hide any trace of curiosity about the guests before them. Bellboys carry luggage with precision, their shoes tapping briskly on the floor, echoing against the high ceilings. The scent of polished wood and faint traces of perfume linger in the air, mixing with the quiet rustle of paper and the clinking of glasses from the bar. It is an atmosphere carefully crafted to appear ordinary, yet beneath that surface lies a pulse of something far less ordinary. It is in such a setting that the night begins to take shape, carrying with it a sense of tension. A guest walks to the desk, not hurried but purposeful, asking politely for something as simple as an envelope. To an observer, it is a trivial request, but in the silence that follows, it feels weightier, almost as though that envelope is destined to hold more than just paper. Moving across the room, away from the murmur of conversation, the guest chooses a writing desk tucked against the wall. The wooden surface gleams under the soft lamp, and there, under the steady hand, something is sealed away inside an envelope. To whom it is addressed, no one else in the room knows. What it contains, no one around could suspect. Yet the air itself seems to lean closer, as if the walls of the hotel are curious witnesses to this quiet act. Around the lobby, the evening continues. At the far end, the gaming tables sparkle with excitement. Cards shuffle, chips clink, and laughter rises only to fade quickly into whispers. Players lean forward with intent, eyes fixed on the dealer's hands, on fortunes that can change with the flip of a card. But even among the glitter and the thrill of the game, something feels shifted tonight. A familiar face is gone, replaced by someone new. The dealer at one table, who had been there earlier, is suddenly not the same. Another player, once a towering presence in the room, has disappeared without word. The rhythm of the game continues, but the change is unmistakable, and it feeds the growing sense that the night is moving towards something unknown. Meanwhile, the clock ticks on. Its steady hands move closer to midnight, the final hour of the day. 5 minutes remain, yet each one feels longer than the last. Time in the hotel seems to stretch, as if the building itself is reluctant to let the moment pass. The lamps glow a little softer, the laughter from the bar fades a little more, and the silence of expectation deepens. For some, it is just another night in a luxurious hotel. For others, it is the setting of a mystery that they will never fully understand. And so, when the envelope is sealed, when the guest rises from the desk and glances around the room one last time, there is a sense of farewell, yet also a sense that something has only just begun. The lobby, once bustling with movement, seems to pause for a breath. Every detail of the evening is now written into the memory of that place. The glow of the chandelier, the silent exchange at the desk, the missing figure, the new dealer. None of it appears extraordinary on its own, but together it forms the outline of a story, one that lingers long after the footsteps fade down the corridor toward a locked door and the quiet end of an unforgettable evening. And that is how a mysterious night inside a grand hotel becomes far more than just a night. It becomes a story waiting to be told. An envelope sealed with something important may look like the simplest object in the world, just a folded piece of paper, ordinary and unremarkable, yet in truth it carries a weight beyond its size. It is in the quiet moment at a desk, with the murmur of voices behind and the steady ticking of the clock, that the decision to place those notes inside becomes more than just an act. It becomes a choice bound with trust, with risk, and with hope. The paper feels stiff between the fingers, the edges sharp, as though it knows the gravity of what it contains. When the flap is folded over and pressed shut, there is a finality to the sound, as though a door has closed on one part of the evening and opened another. Nothing written on the outside can ever reveal the full meaning of what rests within. To anyone passing by, it is just another envelope, but to the one sealing it, it feels like a lifeline, a small shield against uncertainty. The act of writing on the front carries its own strange power. Each letter forms carefully, as if the very strokes of the pen must bear the seriousness of the decision. The words themselves are brief, but the silence that surrounds them is filled with thought. Who will open this envelope? How will it be received? Will it truly be safe in the hands it is entrusted to? These questions rise in the mind, yet the hand continues to write steadily, determined not to let hesitation creep in. In that small gesture there is faith, but also vulnerability, because once the envelope is placed into another's care, control slips away. The writer has done all they can, and the rest now belongs to chance, to trust, and to fate. The hotel lobby seems to shrink around this small act, as though the very walls lean in to observe. A guest at the gaming tables might laugh loudly. Another might call for more chips. A dealer might spread the cards with practiced elegance, yet the sound of the pen scratching across the paper feels louder, more significant than all of it. For in that simple moment lies something hidden, something that no one else in the room could ever suspect. It is not gold or jewels locked away, but a promise, a measure of safety, a hope that what is placed inside will reach its destination untouched. The envelope is no longer just an object. It is a silent messenger, carrying more meaning than words could ever reveal. There is always a certain tension in sealing something valuable away. It is like locking a secret in a box and handing the key to someone else. The heart wonders if it has chosen wisely, if the trust placed will prove deserved. Yet at the same time there is relief, because the burden has shifted from the mind to the paper, from the hand to the envelope. Now it is not only a possession but a safeguard, one that must make its journey quietly, without drawing attention. And so, even as doubts linger, there is a certain calm that settles in the air. What was once open and vulnerable is now hidden, closed off, protected by the fold of paper and the steady hand that pressed it shut. Still, the world outside continues. The laughter from the tables rises and falls, footsteps echo against the marble floor, and the hands of the clock edge ever closer to midnight. Yet through it all, the envelope sits silently, a presence almost invisible among the grandeur of the hotel, yet carrying more significance than the glitter of chandeliers or the shuffle of cards. For in its small, sealed form, it holds not just notes of currency, but the quiet weight of decision, of responsibility, and of trust. No one else in the room knows what has been done, and no one else can guess what meaning rests within that thin paper. It is a secret act in a public space, a quiet defiance against chance, and a hope that safety can be found in something so simple. The night will move on, the dealer will change, a face will disappear, footsteps will lead back to a locked door. But long after the sounds of the hotel fade, the image remains of an envelope sealed with something important, a reminder that even the smallest objects can carry the heaviest truths, and sometimes the fate of an entire evening rests on nothing more than a piece of paper pressed closed in silence. And that is how an envelope sealed with something important becomes more than just paper. It becomes the keeper of trust. A clock ticking close to midnight carries with it a weight that no other sound can match. It is not just the steady rhythm of machinery, not just hands moving across a dial, but a reminder that time waits for no one. Each tick echoes softly through the air, yet inside the mind, it resounds with a strange urgency, as if every second is asking what will be done before the day ends. The stillness of the hotel makes it louder somehow. The hum of voices fades, the laughter from the tables quiets, even the shuffle of cards seems softer, but the clock's voice does not waver. It marks time with a cold certainty, declaring that the night is nearing its close, and with it comes the promise of change. 5 minutes to midnight. The words alone carry tension. The air feels different, as though the night itself is holding its breath. Every movement becomes sharper, more deliberate, because there is no space left for hesitation. The envelope has already been sealed, the words already written on its front, yet the clock reminds that these final minutes matter. There is still the walk back to the room, the turning of the key, the closing of the door. Everything must be done with care, and all of it must be completed before the last stroke of the hour. It is strange how time can feel so elastic. In the early evening, hours can slip away unnoticed. Conversations linger, games stretch long, drinks are poured without thought, and the night feels endless. But as the clock creeps toward 12, time itself changes character. 5 minutes can feel like 50, and every second drips with meaning. A glance at the clock is no longer casual. It is an act filled with awareness. The mind calculates quickly how long it takes to cross the lobby, how many steps to the room, how many seconds to turn the lock. Nothing is left unmeasured because midnight has become more than just a moment. It has become a deadline. The hotel shares in this transformation. The chandeliers glow as they always have, but their light seems sharper, more demanding. The shadows at the edges of the room appear darker, stretching further, as though they too are aware of the hour approaching. The dealers move their hands across the tables with the same steady rhythm, but to the eye watching, that rhythm feels slower, exaggerated, as if time itself is bending to the pressure of the clock. Even the voices of the players at the tables grow subdued, as though they are unconsciously preparing for the close of the night. There is a certain solitude in hearing the clock when no one else seems to notice it. Others laugh, others gamble, others move about with casual steps. But for the one who hears it most clearly, each tick is a reminder. It is not just sound, it is a voice saying now, act now, do not wait. The pressure is silent, invisible, but undeniable, pushing forward, demanding that the evening's choices be made complete. And within that urgency is something almost haunting, the thought that once midnight arrives, nothing will be the same again. The hands draw closer, minute to minute, second to second. The envelope feels heavier in the pocket, though it weighs almost nothing. The air feels denser, though it has not changed. The room itself feels smaller, though its walls remain the same. All of this is the doing of the clock, of its relentless, impartial rhythm. Midnight has not yet struck, but its presence fills the space already, hovering over every movement, every glance, every step toward the door. And so, when the eyes rise once more to check the dial and see that only a handful of minutes remain, there is no mistaking it. The night is no longer about leisure, about games, or about company. It is about the race against time itself, about what must be secured before the final chime echoes through the hall. In that moment, the hotel does not feel like a place of rest, but a stage on which the clock plays the lead role, commanding attention, commanding urgency, commanding action. And that is how a clock ticking close to midnight transforms silence into urgency and minutes into destiny. A crowded room filled with strangers at the gaming tables has an energy all its own, a rhythm that beats faster than the ticking of any clock. The air hums with a tension that is part excitement, part unease as people lean forward with narrowed eyes, their hands clutching cards or sliding chips across green felt. The room glitters under soft lights, every surface polished, every detail designed to dazzle. Yet what truly holds attention is not the day, or but the faces, so many faces, unknown to one another, yet bound together in this shared pursuit of fortune. Strangers sit shoulder to shoulder, their voices overlapping in fragments. A laugh here, a mutter there, the sharp intake of breath when a card is revealed, the groan of disappointment when luck slips away. Each person tries to mask their thoughts, hiding triumph behind calm expressions, disguising fear with forced smiles. Yet the room is alive with tiny betrayals. The twitch of an eyebrow, the tightening of a jaw, the way fingers tap nervously against the table. In that crowd, every gesture is a language, every silence a secret. No one truly knows the other, but everyone is watching, measuring, calculating. The dealers keep the pace steady, their hands moving with practiced precision, spreading cards, stacking chips, keeping order amid the chaos. They are the calm at the center of the storm, yet even their faces seem sharper tonight, their eyes scanning the players as though they, too, sense something shifting in the air. At one table, a familiar dealer has vanished, replaced by someone new. The change is subtle, but it does not go unnoticed. Strangers might not know each other's names, but they know the patterns of a room, and when something breaks from routine, the atmosphere tilts. Whispers ripple quietly at the edges, but soon the shuffle of cards reclaims attention, pulling the crowd back into the game. The room smells faintly of smoke and perfume, a blend of indulgence that clings to every chair and curtain. Glasses clink as waiters weave between the tables, careful not to disturb the hands hovering over chips. A woman in a glittering dress leans forward, her smile bright but her eyes calculating, while across from her a man frowns over his hand of cards, pretending to be indifferent. To the untrained eye, they are just strangers sharing a table, but the truth is far more layered. Here, alliances form and vanish within minutes, fortunes rise and collapse in the time it takes to turn a card. The crowded room is not just a place of chance, but a stage where each person performs a role, concealing their true intentions behind the mask of the game. And yet, for all the noise and motion, there is also a strangeness in such a gathering. Surrounded by people, one can feel more alone than ever, for every stranger is locked in their own private battle. Their minds are consumed not with the lives around them, but with the next move, the next gamble, the next hope of victory. No one looks beyond the table. No one seeks true connection. It is a room full of people, yet none of them are truly together. The energy that binds them is not friendship but risk, not trust but chance. From the edge of the room, watching it all unfold, there is a sense of being both part of the crowd and apart from it. The laughter and sighs wash over like waves, but beneath them lies something quieter, something hidden. Every game seems ordinary, yet the patterns of absence and presence speak volumes. One face is missing, another has appeared, and the shift is enough to cast a shadow over the entire evening. The strangers may not realize it, but the balance has changed. The crowded tables are no longer only about money or luck. They are about watching, about waiting, about sensing the undercurrent that runs beneath the sparkle and sound. The night deepens, and still the room hums with life. Chips slide, cards flip, voices rise, and the strangers continue their dance around the tables. But behind the glimmer of lights and the performance of chance, there lingers the unshakable truth that a crowded room filled with strangers is never just about the game. It is about the stories that remain unspoken, the secrets hidden in plain sight, and the quiet realization that nothing in such a room is ever truly what it seems. And that is how a crowded room filled with strangers at the gaming tables becomes a theater of secrets. A sudden change of faces, a new dealer, and a missing presence can alter the rhythm of an entire room in an instant. At first, it seems like nothing more than a small adjustment, the kind of detail that most guests might overlook. Yet for anyone paying attention, the shift is unmistakable. The chair behind the table is now occupied by someone different, a stranger with quick hands and calm eyes, and the one who had been there before has quietly vanished without explanation. It is not unusual for dealers to switch during long hours, but there is something about the timing, about the way it happens tonight, that stirs unease. The room is alive with chatter and the shuffling of cards, but beneath the surface, the atmosphere has changed. Players glance at one another, their eyes flickering with brief suspicion before returning to their hands. No one speaks of it aloud, yet every person around the table feels the weight of that empty chair, the absence of the figure who had seemed so permanent only moments before. The new dealer, with steady composure, tries to mask the difference, carrying on with crisp movements and a voice free of hesitation. But the more precise the gestures, the more noticeable the replacement becomes. It is not the same rhythm, not the same energy, and the crowd senses it. In the world of gaming tables, faces are as much a part of the game as the cards themselves. Familiarity offers comfort. Even among strangers, there is reassurance in recognizing the same dealer night after night, the same commanding presence at the center of the room. To lose that anchor without warning creates a ripple of uncertainty, and uncertainty is dangerous in a place already built on chance. A laugh at one end of the room sounds sharper now, a shuffle of chips feels louder, the movements of players seem slightly more rigid, as though they are bracing against something they cannot name. The missing presence lingers most of all. It is not simply about who has arrived, but about who is gone. The absence feels deliberate, almost planned, like a piece removed from a puzzle that suddenly makes the whole picture harder to see. People try not to look for the missing figure, yet their eyes betray them, scanning the corners of the room, as though expecting to find that familiar face returning at any moment. The longer the absence stretches, the more the unease grows. It is not what is seen that troubles the mind, but what is unseen. The clock continues its quiet march toward midnight, but its ticking seems heavier now, as though marking not just the passage of time, but the absence of those who once filled it. A guest rises from a chair, claiming fatigue, though their eyes linger uneasily on the table before leaving. Another sits straighter, more cautious, as if aware that the balance of the evening has shifted. The room is the same as it was moments before, same walls, same chandeliers, same hum of voices, yet it feels entirely different, one face missing and another replaced, and suddenly the atmosphere carries a tension that cannot be disguised. The new dealer works diligently, yet that very diligence makes the change more striking. Every card placed, every chip counted, carries with it the unspoken question, why now? Why here? The players conceal their curiosity behind masks of indifference, but their silence speaks louder than words. The missing presence leaves a hollow space that cannot be ignored. and the new face becomes a symbol of that absence, a reminder that the night has taken a turn, even if no one dares admit it aloud. Moments like this reveal the fragility of trust in a crowded room. Strangers may sit together, but they rely on the illusion of familiarity to feel at ease. Break that illusion, and suddenly every detail feels suspicious, every action worthy of doubt. A smile that once seemed genuine may now appear forced. A glance that once meant nothing may now feel heavy with meaning. And all of it stems from that one simple fact: the sudden change of faces, the arrival of the new, the disappearance of the known. The evening does not stop. The games continue, laughter returns in bursts, cards keep turning. Yet beneath it all, the memory of the missing presence and the arrival of the unfamiliar lingers like a shadow across the table. No matter how many chips are stacked, no matter how many cards are dealt, the room will not forget that it has shifted, that what was once steady has now become uncertain. And that is how a sudden change of faces, a new dealer, and a missing presence can turn a room of chance into a room of questions. A quiet walk back to the room, locking the door on an unforgettable evening, is often the most revealing part of a night like this. The noise of the crowded tables, the glitter of chandeliers, the restless shuffle of cards, all of it fades the moment one steps away from the room where everything unfolded. The corridors of the hotel stretch long and silent, lined with thick carpet that softens every footstep. The air feels cooler here, as if the building itself is offering a space for reflection after the tension of the night. Each step carries with it the weight of the hours just past, every sound from the distance, whether the muffled laughter of late guests or the faint clink of glass, seeming sharper against the hush of the hall. The envelope is tucked safely away, yet it feels heavier with each stride. What once was just paper sealed shut has now become something more, a silent companion on the walk back through the shadows of the hotel. The mind replays the moments at the tables, the shifting of faces, the missing presence, the strange unease of seeing the game altered in ways so subtle yet so deliberate. Each detail lingers like a faint echo. Even the way the clock had ticked toward midnight refuses to leave memory. It is as though the night, though already past, still clings to the edges of thought, unwilling to let go. The walk itself is deliberate, unhurried, almost ritualistic. There is no rush now, only the quiet determination to reach the room undisturbed. The polished walls reflect dim pools of light from the sconces, casting long shadows that stretch and sway with each passing step. The silence becomes more profound with every turn of the corridor, broken only by the soft tap of shoes against the carpet. In that silence, there is a strange clarity. The noise of the crowd no longer drowns out thought. The glamour of the tables no longer distracts. Here, in the stillness of the hallway, the truth of the evening settles in with undeniable certainty. Arriving at the door is like reaching a threshold between two worlds. On one side lies the grandeur of the lobby, the restless hum of strangers, the glittering stage where chance played its part. On the other lies solitude, the safe refuge of four walls, where the night can finally be set aside. The key slides into the lock with a faint metallic sound, small but decisive. The turn of the wrist feels heavier than it should, as though sealing away more than just a room. It is sealing away the very memory of what transpired in the hours before. The door opens, and the room greets with its familiar quiet. The curtains are drawn, the lamps give off a soft glow, and the air carries the faint scent of polished wood. Closing the door behind is a relief, a deliberate cutting off from the noise of the world outside. The lock clicks into place, and in that sound there is security, a boundary drawn between what is public and what is private. The corridor, the tables, the strangers, all of it now lies beyond that door, leaving only stillness within. Sitting in the room, the silence becomes almost absolute. The envelope rests where it must, its weight no longer just physical, but symbolic of everything entrusted to the night. The clock may continue to tick somewhere in the distance, but here it feels softer, less demanding, as though midnight has passed its judgment and left only calm in its wake. Reflection comes naturally now, unhurried, as the mind replays the evening's events. The sudden change of faces, the missing presence, the crowded tables alive with whispers. Each memory sharpens, and yet each also fades, becoming part of the larger story that the night has written in silence. It is in moments like this that the evening's true character reveals itself. Not in the glitter of the gaming tables or the weight of the envelope, not even in the tension of the clock's final minutes, but in the quiet walk back, in the act of closing the door and sitting alone with the memory of it all. That is when one realizes that what seemed fleeting has become permanent, etched not just in memory but in feeling. The night will not be forgotten, not because of its spectacle, but because of the silence that followed, the calm that sealed it, and the solitude that gave it meaning. And that is how a quiet walk back to the room, locking the door on an unforgettable evening, turns the end of a night into the beginning of a memory. And so the night closes, leaving behind whispers of mystery, sealed secrets, and fleeting faces. What began in noise and glitter ends in silence and reflection, a story etched in shadows and time. May this unforgettable evening remind us that even the smallest moments can hold the greatest weight.